Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a dynamic macro to micro journey through the incredible scale, borders, and absolute geographical extremes of India. If you want to truly understand a nation, you have to look at the physical space it occupies, and India provides one of the most fascinating geographic studies on the planet. Let's get right into it. Section 1, India on the global stage. So here's a wild stat to start us off. India occupies just 2.42% of the world's total land area. Honestly, that sounds incredibly small, doesn't it? Especially for a country with such a massive global footprint. When you look at a globe, you might naturally assume it takes up a much larger physical percentage of the Earth's surface, but in reality, it's less than 2.5% of the global landmass. Keep that tiny slice in mind, because it sets up an incredible contrast. Because here is where it gets really interesting. That relatively tiny 2.42% slice of land, it officially holds the second largest population on the entire planet. Think about that for a second. It creates this absolutely fascinating human density. Every single square kilometer is part of a highly dynamic human ecosystem, which makes understanding the geography of this space so much more important. Now, before we start actually tracing out the physical borders, it really helps to understand a few of the country's unifying frameworks. Despite its vast, diverse population, India operates on a single time zone, Indian Standard Time, governed right from the capital of New Delhi. With Hindi as the official language, and this overarching powerful monsoon climate dictating the rhythm of life, the country maintains incredible structural unity across its distinct quadrilateral shape, sitting squarely in the northern and eastern hemispheres. Moving on to Section 2, Shape, Scale, and Borders. That quadrilateral shape we just mentioned, it translates into some literally staggering distances on the ground. We're talking a stretch of over 3,200 kilometers from north to south and nearly 3,000 kilometers from east to west. If you were to drive continuously across these expanses, you'd experience an entirely shifting world of topographies. It's a remarkably balanced footprint, spreading out almost equally wide as it is tall. And when you calculate all that enclosed space, the whole shebang totals roughly 3.3 million square kilometers. To be exact, it's 3,287,263 square kilometers. This officially secures its rank as the seventh largest country in the world by area. So yeah, while it might be just 2.42% of the world, in absolute terms, we are dealing with a truly massive stretch of the Earth's surface. Okay, here's a classic geography trick that trips a lot of people up. If you ask someone for India's southernmost point, they'll usually say Kanyakumari down in the state of Tamil Nadu. And sure, that is where the continuous mainland ends. But actually, scratch that. The absolute southernmost point of the nation's sovereign territory is way out in the ocean at Indira Point in Great Nicobar. The nation's influence extends far, far beyond just its mainland limits. And if we look across that nearly 3,000-kilometer east-to-west stretch we talked about earlier, we've got the state of Gujarat anchoring the extreme west side and Arunachal Pradesh marking the far eastern edge. This isn't just a measure of vast physical distance. It represents the sheer breadth of a nation where the sun first rises over the hills of Arunachal Pradesh and hours later finally sets on the coast of Gujarat. India also boasts this really incredible balance when it comes to its borders. It features a massive 15,200-kilometer land boundary wrapping around the north, paired with a coastline that stretches for over 7,500 kilometers down to the south. This dual identity, being both a deeply continental nation firmly connected to Asia and a major maritime power, fundamentally shapes its identity, its climate, and its economy. All right, Section 3, States and Union Territories. So how exactly do you effectively govern 3.3 million square kilometers and a massive dynamic population? Well, you break it down. The country's internal administration is divided up into 28 individual states and 8 union territories. This serves as the administrative skeleton of the nation, organizing that giant landmass into manageable regions that each carry their own totally unique geographic profiles. But the scale within these puzzle pieces varies wildly. Take Rajasthan, for example. It's the largest state by area, covering huge sweeping swaths of the northwest. Compare that to Goa, the absolute smallest state, which occupies just this tiny picturesque sliver on the western coastline. It really highlights how diverse the administrative makeup of the country is. We see that exact same kind of spatial extreme when comparing the Union territories, too. You have the vast, high-altitude, mountainous region of Ladakh, towering as the largest by area in the far north. And on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, Lakshadweep, a beautifully small, tiny cluster of islands dotting the sea.
Let's pause for a second here. Ask yourself this. What happens when you combine massive borders, towering mountains, an immense coastline, and a climate fundamentally driven by monsoon rains? Well, when all these huge factors collide across a single nation, the physical results carved into the landscape are nothing short of extraordinary.
And that brings us perfectly to Section 4, a land of extremes. Fueled by those heavy seasonal monsoon rains we just noted, the landscape is able to carve out incredible features, like Jog Falls down in Karnataka. It's the highest waterfall in the country. And this isn't just a fun piece of geographical trivia. It is a direct consequence of the monsoon climate interacting with the dramatic elevation changes of the Indian landscape. The sheer volume and power of water here is basically a visual testament to the climate dynamic. Yet, far away from the lush tropical downpours, way up north in the massive Union territory of Ladakh, you've got Dras. And Dras proudly holds the record as the absolute coldest place in the nation. Just think about that contrast for a moment. We were just talking about towering waterfalls in rain-fed states, and now we are looking at Dras, nestled in the freezing high-altitude extremes of the north. The geographical parameters here are just wide enough to encompass both realities at the exact same time. So from making up just 2.42% of the world's surface to housing its second largest population, the sheer scale packed into India's 3.3 million square kilometers is honestly breathtaking. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought. How fascinating is the geography of a single nation that can harbor both soaring, rain-fed tropical waterfalls and the freezing, icy extremities of the north, all within its borders? It's like a giant, beautiful puzzle. Keep exploring and always keep asking questions about the ground beneath our feet.